This is our 10th Travel Market Report Master Advisor series. I have some announcements before I move ahead today, and I'm going to try to make them as quick as possible. As always, I want to remind you that speaker view in the top right, that's going to be your best viewing experience. And I want to remind you that the chat, again, is open, and we're going to be grabbing as many appropriate questions as we can. Last week, it was sort of a chat-heavy session, and I think that's super valuable for everyone. So I'm going to try to do my best again to keep that going. I also want to remind everyone that recordings of this video and of all of our other videos are going to be on our training page and on our YouTube channel. I want to thank those who subscribed and commented on the recent videos. I think we had 1,000 views on last week's with Jamie and Tiffany. So that was great to see. I'm going to drop that link in the chat if anybody is interested in subscribing. I also want to remind everyone that we've actually launched the second wave of our Travel Advisor COVID-19 Sentiment Barometer, which we've partnered with MMGY Travel Intelligence. We wanted to sort of monitor the impact that COVID-19 is having on travel agencies. We released the results of the first one last month, and we're hoping to include input from as many travel advisors as possible on the second wave. The survey takes about 8 minutes or so, and if you're interested and have the time, I'm going to drop that link in the chat again. Then I want to make just a few announcements about sort of the next few weeks with these Thursday sessions. The schedule for these are going to change a bit going forward. We're not going to be sticking to that weekly schedule. We're going to be moving bi-weekly for the sort of short-term future. The next one will be next Thursday, but after that, we'll be moving bi-weekly. And for the next 3 sessions, we're going to be doing something a little different. We've planned 3 panels over the next few weeks that we hope will help you just as much as these have. The panels will feature consortia and host executives from groups around the industry. They're going to be talking about the issues that are impacting their advisors and giving their opinion and their expertise to us. So it's great. We're hoping you all can join us for those. The first panel is going to be next week, and we're going to have 5 panelists on. It's going to be Jackie Friedman from Nexion, Catherine Mazza-Burney from Nest, John Werner from Mast, Jen Lee from TPI, and Vicky Garcia from Cruise Planners. As always, we'll get the link out to register for that one once we wrap up today. And also, aside from the format change, next week we're going to have a different host. It's going to be Jennifer Wilson Buttigieg, who was actually the first guest on this series. She's going to take over from me on the next 3. We wanted to have an advisor who has clients and has been in the industry for a long time be the one to interview these executives. I'll be back after we wrap up those panels, and I'll be on each one of those calls. And for all you are worried about reaching me, I don't know how many of you are out there are worried, but you can still reach me on email and Facebook too. Okay, so I want to kick off today's. We have a very special guest. Her name is Sanya Weston. She's the CEO of Your Premier Travel Service, which is the oldest African-American owned agency in Michigan. Sanya is an award-winning agent and has more than 30 years of experience in travel. A lot of her success she attributes to her ability of staying current on constantly changing travel trends, which is our topic today. So I'd like to welcome Sanya, and I want to say thank you for being with me here today.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me. It's such an honor to have a voice.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this topic. I think it's something that's incredibly relevant, and I think I'm excited to tackle it with you today. But first, I want to ask you, can you tell us a little about you and yourself and your agency? I know you have quite a legacy in Michigan, and I'm wondering if you could sort of give us a little description about it.
Absolutely, and thank you for this opportunity again. So, I'm in the Michigan area and around the beautiful lakes, and it is an honor to have witnessed this travel agency for almost all of my life, actually. So I'm a 3rd-generation business owner, and my grandparents started the first charter bus company, so I had an opportunity to see it from the road first. And after that, my mother started a travel agency almost 50 years ago in the Detroit area. And both of those companies were the first African-American companies in Detroit to actually jump into this travel industry. And from there, I had an opportunity to experience, doing the old school ticketing. We had a Apollo system inside of our agency. So if, we have any old schoolers on this call, they understand, first of all, the room that gadget took up. and how difficult it was to print those tickets in your office. But then also because my mother at the time focused just on cruises. She did cruises. She was honored to receive $4 million awards through Carnival Cruise Line. And those were awards that were given to agencies back in the day when they hit that milestone. And she continued to offer cruise services. And when I jumped in the business in my 20s, I wanted to do something different, obviously, and I jumped into entertainment travel. And I wanted to just know how you can enter into the Grammys, the Soul Train Awards, the All-Star Games, all those things that were always on television versus things that I can just buy a ticket for. And that's where I started my journey as a business owner in the travel industry. And since then, I've obviously taken over the business and had an opportunity to now do a little bit of everything. I focus directly into group travel. And with group travel, I've had an opportunity to see that grow from different levels. So it's just an honor to be able to be in this business, affect this business, watch the business change, and see the business survive, even through 9/11, and now we have COVID-19. It has just been an honor. And, you know, when I think of travel and I think of myself, the first thing I have to just kind of take note of is what drives me. And I like to tell people that when you have the road of impact and income and they collide, I think that's where I am. That's my passion. So I make sure that any income that I receive in this industry is always given back to the community to have an impact. So that's me in the travel industry.
Well, thank you for that. I know you're being humble, and it's great to see. I mean, we get a lot of sort of second career people in this industry, but we get a lot of family businesses too. So because clearly, I think this industry sort of drives people who are passionate and attracts the kind of people who are passionate about it and can pass that passion along. And it's great to hear your story. And it's great to see sort of someone who's able to sort of take lessons from the past and learn lessons from their experience. Which I guess brings us to our topic today. I mean, the topic is staying current in travel trends, and I think right now it's sort of an important topic for a lot of people. So I want to ask you sort of what do you consider when looking at what do you consider when looking at trends? And I mean, what do you consider is important to keep track of? Or I guess even in general, how do you define travel trends? How do you define the things that you think are most important to make note of for you and for your business?
Well, that's an excellent question. You know, trends are, as we know in our society, it always leads. It leads every industry, and it doesn't leave the travel industry behind. So you really have to do research on and consume yourself in what's happening, not only locally but globally. And by doing that, it allows you to open our sales mind, and then also your knowledge of what's going on. You know, I do have to commend the Travel Market Report. They do an excellent job with giving us that information. So, you know, I'm always consuming myself in your reports. And also I reach out to have close relationships with my vendors and destination reps that are on the ground. There is a difference. You know, we have, as in our industry, we call them BDMs and different things, but you need to have someone on the ground, and that's what sets you aside. So when you are traveling as travel advisors, make sure you have contacts with people you could either call or WhatsApp so you can get a clear picture of what's happening, because that's how you're going to know exactly what the trends are.
Yeah, and I think, again, that's what makes this period sort of tough for a lot of people, is that it's difficult to get on the ground. But I do know a lot of suppliers have people on the ground all over sort of the world, and it is important to have those relationships and people you trust that will give you advice and give you the updates that you need.
Absolutely.
So I mean, staying current, is it just about knowing what's happening at destinations or sort of product updates with tours or with cruise lines? But is it also about sort of what's happening on the retail side and what it means to sort of being able to stay current with your business and be able to adopt the best business practices that are going to help you in a sort of ever-changing world?
I think it's both. You know, because our industry is a global industry, it's important that we do stay up to date with what is happening in our country. So, you have the State Department that you can reference, and it's not always up to date, but it is your first reference. You want to go there just to kind of see what our government is talking about, and what restrictions may be in place. But you cannot stop there. You then have to find out what's happening on individual destinations that fall into your sales platform, and you want to have an overreach. So what does that mean? Continuing to reach out to your vendors, stay updated with what they have. And then social media is a huge resource. Yeah. And not social media as a whole, you have to pinpoint communities. And, social media communities are just awesome. I've learned a lot, even though I've been, in the industry for so long. I'm still learning from people who have taken trips, and they like to do a video of showing what their experience was like. So being engaged on social media communities, but only selecting those that fall in line with what your platform is offering, because social media can be very distracting. So you don't want to just jump in and not know what direction. Look for communities or topics that assist you with giving the best information to your clients.
Yeah, that is a good point. There are a lot of very loud voices on social media, and there's a ton of platforms too that look to accomplish different things. But for anyone interested in social media, I just want to plug an old session. We had Amy Leon who spoke to us about her experience in Facebook groups, and how she was a part of a bunch of Facebook groups that were non-travel related, and that she was able to sort of gain a lot of contacts from. So if you want to check that out, again, that's on our YouTube page.
That's an excellent topic.
Yeah, thank you. So let's talk about your experience sort of staying current. We spoke earlier in the week. You told me a story about a dress photo from Greece. I'm wondering if you could talk about that, and maybe a couple more examples about staying current and how that's helped you and helped your business.
Oh, absolutely. So, social media is a place that I find myself I'm spending about 30 minutes every day. And what I tend to do is have a direction. What are my millennials doing, and what are my my more seasoned travelers, what are they looking for, and what are the conversations, because it's the conversations that excite you. So, we were talking about this dress photo in Greece. I was getting all of this, action on one of the groups where people wanted to take a photo in a dress in Greece. And for the life of me, I would have never offered that to a client as an option or an experience. So because I found out through social media that this was an experience, we tested the waters and did a survey. And 80% of our customers were wanting to do this. And we were able to find a local vendor right in Greece that offers this service. And we found that the reason that a lot of people like this is, photos is all, it's the number one thing that people are coming back from their vacations. Of course, they love their experience, but photos are number one. They share the photos on social media. The photos are what they bring home, and the photos are actually conversation pieces when they go back to work. So photographs are awesome when it comes to a selling point in different exotic destinations. So don't, not include that. And once you see one of those photos in Greece, is actually awesome. I had to do it too. So
yeah, it is kind of amazing, the power of social media, and the power of maybe one or two posts on social media can make something go viral and sort of drive that kind of change and that kind of interest in something like that. I remember, like, this is a completely different example, but when the Joker movie came out last year, there was a bunch of stories in the New York tabloids about tourists flocking to Harlem to see those steps. So a bunch of stuff like that is important for travel advisors to pay attention to, because people are going to want to go and they are going to want to see. I remember when Game of Thrones was really trending in the world. Everyone wanted to go to Northern Ireland or go to Iceland and see those sets and see those destinations and things like that. So
what I think is interesting, growing up in this business, we were always taught you have to see, the seven wonders of the world. that whole impression on travel has changed. You know, of course, those are beautiful places to see, and I do recommend them, but our millennials are really not trying to use those as their, you know, top of the list selection. So
Yeah.
think of experiences that they could have that they can bring back in photography.
Yeah, it's amazing, and also, I mean, the amazing how far people will travel to get a photo too. So I think that's a great point. You mentioned that when you saw this photo trending, and I'm gonna try to find the photo and I'll send it out. I'll try to get it in the group, but get it into the chat. But I think Denise Wiggins found it anyway. So Denise Wiggins has the photo in the group chat. Thank you, Denise, in case anyone wants to see it. But you surveyed your customers. I thought that was super interesting. How often do you do that? Do you survey your clients, and what kind of other stuff do you survey them about?
So we do surveys annually. So, and we started doing surveys for customer service just to make sure that we were hitting, you know, a home run when it came to servicing our clients. But then we started to send out destination options as we began to do research on experiences that we thought were awesome, and we wanted to see what our clients saw. And then as we get addressed with things that are on social media, we want to just make sure that it's a good fit for our client. You know, as travel advisors, we do a lot of work, a lot of research, and we want to make sure that we are going in the right direction. So I think a survey annually is much more easier than doing a lot of research and coming up wrong and not hitting the point with your client.
I mean, what kind of things do you ask in the surveys? And I think the question we're going to get is, is there a specific software or specific platform you use for the surveys?
Actually, we have used SurveyMonkey is one of them, but then we also started to use just a Google platform that you can just create your own questions and you can send that out as well. So either of those are very helpful, and you can also build a database from them so you can keep those for references to, you know, for every year. But some of the questions, you know, it's more of a, you know, you want to keep it very short. We've never done more than 10 questions, and when our clients return from the trip, we only ask them 5. But one of the questions that we get a lot of response is, what would you have done that you didn't get a chance to do? And once they share that with us, then we start to alter our scheduling or our itineraries based on that information. Because, you know, when you send someone to a new destination, we want them to see the basics or the most popular things based on how we actually profile them. But once they get there and they meet people from other states, or they become friends with someone local, then they're saying, oh, we were able to go make gin, you know, in Manchester, and obviously we didn't think they drink gin, you know. So you know, so those are the things that they, you know, they'll start to experience, and then we can start to add in future itinerary.
Yeah, that is great. Denise Wiggins wants to know if you give them any kind of incentive to complete the annual survey, or is it just because the relationship you have with them is strong enough that they'll complete it on their own?
Yeah, we haven't had to give any incentives, and like I said, if you keep it short, they, you know, and then you include it with your welcome home, they normally will like to just share their information, you know, and you want it to all be positive, so we do our best to make sure that the experiences are awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I also want to ask about staying current. I mean, with your terminology, just because again, we spoke earlier in the weekend. You mentioned that you moved from calling it group travel to group experiences, and I'm wondering, I mean, what did that decision entail, and how did that change come about?
So, you know, if I can remember back, a group would normally consist of family and a couple of friends going to the same destination or on a cruise together to celebrate something. You know, you have your family reunions, your anniversaries, and your 50th birthday.
Yeah.
But the key thing, you know, 20 years ago was people knew each other. So the difference today is people will travel with strangers with no problem. Even if someone says, oh, I have a 50th birthday, I want to celebrate, they'll put it out to strangers on social media, and they have no idea who will be traveling with them. because of that, you have to change your structure of your groups. You know, it makes your groups larger because you do open it up to other people. Because one of the number one things that our group leaders complain about is, oh, I want to go and I want my friends to go, but either they said it's too expensive or they can't get the day off of work. And I tell my clients, you decide what you want to do. And then you tell other people what you're doing, and what they decide to do, you don't worry about.
Yeah.
And if you open it up to other people, then you still can have new friends, or you can still keep a good rate and don't have to be bothered with the other people. So groups are a little different these days. You know, you take advantage of excellent rates. You also can meet new people, and it is the new direction for groups. So don't limit yourself, advisors.
Yeah, that is a great point. I am curious about groups, and it's because you specialize in it. Are you seeing it? I mean, we're going to jump back to the current travel trends, but are you seeing any change in groups now with COVID? Are you seeing groups, sort of smaller groups, wanting to travel together, or maybe family and friends wanting to travel together? I spoke to some suppliers this week. I spoke to those of distinction who mentioned this, that they're seeing a more business because sort of smaller groups rather be in sort of smaller accommodations with people they know, rather than large sort of 1,500 hotel room property, things like that.
You know, honestly, I have not. We pride ourselves on actually booking groups a year or 2 years out, and we've already started to receive calls from our clients for the same reasons. I'm turning 50, or I'm getting married, or whatever the the big event is, and so they're not changing. I did hear, speaking with another professional in the industry, that she was looking for larger homes or private jets, because there were some clients that just wanted just be a little bit safer and have control of their surroundings. So that is a trend. I can't see that as impacting greatly at this time, but it is an option, and we can definitely offer that.
Okay. Yeah. So we have a bunch of people asking about that survey you sent out before. I'm not going to ask you to get it, but I'll try to maybe grab some questions from you later, and we can send it out in the.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I also, again, want to drop the survey, the link to our survey, which we think is important too. It's with them, again, it's with MMGY, and we're just trying to keep track of current travel trends among advisors in the trade. I know there's a lot of consumer surveys going on, but this one's specific for travel advisors and for you guys. So we just think it's super important. But I want to circle back to current travel trends, and to other ways that you stay up to date on what's going on, what's impacting your business, and what's impacting the retail side of things. I'm wondering if you're a part of any groups with other advisors, if you make a concerted effort to communicate with other advisors about what's happening within their business, about what their clients are saying, or about anything else that may be important.
Absolutely. So just recently, I've reached out to a couple of agency owners, and just to spill, what is the temperature in their agency. I live by what I was taught, that there's enough business for everyone. So it's okay to share some of your techniques and share what's working for you and your wins. And the group of women that I'm a part of, they do the same. So again, I would say, there's a lot of communities out there based on agency owners, based on destinations, based on age groups. So find one that you can go in and either read their comments and contribute. One thing also, with doing that, I participate in trainings. I've been in the industry for a while, but that doesn't mean that, I can't update my knowledge. So I know that there's task training, and there's ASTA's training. I even took a training with Mark Cuban, and even though he was not speaking on the travel industry, but he was speaking on sales. And, just to let you know, advisors, we are salespeople. So we sell vacations and experiences and happiness, but we're salespeople. And one thing I learned from him, which I've carried on throughout this entire time with COVID-19, is replace the word sales with communication. So what does that mean? Anytime you want to, sell something through marketing or sell something through a conversation or a promotion, do more communicating to your customer. You may want to, we're going to give away this free trip if you book early. I would flip that and say, it's best to book early because of, and give examples. And by doing that, we're going to give you this. I mean, you just want to tell them why. And then it opens up conversations so that you're able to profile them even more and see where's their mindset. Are they afraid to travel? So I thought it was challenging at first, but I thought it was a great thing to use during this time. Sales, replace it with communication in everything that you do.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You're getting a lot of great feedback from our guests today. That I think that's a great point too. And another great point is that training should never stop. And I know even during this time, a lot of advisors are worried, and a lot of advisors are trying to hustle as much as they can, which is completely understandable. But you still have to train, and I think the landscape's going to be changing even more now coming out of COVID. And it's important to stay updated, not on just on what's happening in the industry, about what's open and what's available to your clients, but also your skills and your sales skills, your marketing skills, and other skills that you need to sort of be successful going forward.
Exactly. And we have to just know that, we are problem solvers in our industry. So you have to create a need. And by having that knowledge and communicating with your client, you're filling that void for them.
So I'm wondering now, I mean, we're in July. It's hard to keep track of time, but we're in July, a few months out, and people are starting to look to travel again. There was actually a separate MMGY survey this week that came out, their tip survey, that said more than 50% of consumers expect to book a trip in the next 6 months. Even though it's mostly domestic travel, it's still going to be bookings. And I'm wondering if you see any trends among your clients about what they're booking. If it's domestic trips, I mean, where are they looking? Is it national parks? Is it other outdoor vacations? Is it different models of travel? Is there anything in particular that's interesting to you or new to you as sort of a longtime agency owner?
Yes. So I've gotten a lot of calls on, I want to drive 5 hours outside of the city. Where can I go? And being from Michigan, I mean, you could drive 12 hours and still be in Michigan. So it was very challenging for me to say, okay, let me, see our surrounding states and see what jewels they have. So that's a great point. One of the number one trends is looking for vacation spots within the United States. We have a lot of things working against us, and we just need to rise above it versus using that as a challenge. We have wonderful jewels. I mean, they may not all be 5 hours drive away, but you can still, go to the West Coast if you're from Michigan, or to the, up to upper in the East Coast, and try to create an experience. And this is our time to focus on that, making sure that we know, and it's a challenge to us advisors to do that, but I guarantee sometimes you can make the same revenue if you put time and add things in. So don't be afraid if someone wants an Airbnb. Don't be afraid if someone wants to drive or they want to rent an RV. There's other things that you can actually sell to them or create an experience where you can also have revenue. This is the time that they need to trust that we are authentic travel advisors, not just people who send them to exotic places or Caribbean islands. Step up a little bit, challenge yourself. We unfortunately have a lot of time to do that. And then, lead by example, visit yourself. That is something that you really need to do to be able to speak on it and to convince your client that it's okay to not go away for 7 days, but a weekend is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a great point too, because it's difficult for a lot of advisors who have been in the industry a long time, have been selling the same destinations. A lot of people have been selling the major destinations in the U.S., which have remained the same over the last decade or so. And I think it's time to expand your portfolio. And I mean, looking
Exactly.
local is super interesting, especially in sort of a state like Michigan. And I'm wondering, I mean, have you discovered any sort of places or any destinations that you've never sold before? And if you have discovered any, how have you done that? Is it again by reaching out to other advisors? Is it by doing your own research? Is it by looking at social media?
Yes, there was one social media platform is luxury travel agents, and I actually put a post. I'm looking for a luxury resort in Indiana. Okay, it's literally.
Question on Facebook.
Yes, they're on Facebook. Yes, they're on Facebook. And someone responded and they sent a link to a resort in Indiana, which was very beautiful. And it just kind of helped with my research. They're willing to help you. So that was awesome. Another thing is in Michigan, I actually started to just research bed and breakfasts. And I built relationships with the owners of these because they're, individual owners or private owners. And then you can still negotiate some form of a commission for yourself to, to satisfy your client, but also open up a new avenue for yourself. I am working a lot on the West Coast right now, just because we have some RVers that they just want experiences and hotels. And they only want hotels for a short amount of time because they're using their RVs for the other part. And it's okay. It's you put the work in, they compensate you for that. But those are my same clients that go to Europe as well. Yeah. So if you keep them engaged right now, because I get phone calls all the time. I just need to go. They don't know where they're going. They just want to go. So if you keep them happy now, and they'll come back when it's time to take those really great vacations. But on the flip side, if there's something that you just don't offer, be honest and say, I'm not knowledgeable in that area. And you may be able to send them a couple of links for that area, but don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to let the client down because you weren't able to deliver.
Yeah, and again, it's something everyone sort of has to think about themselves and decide how much time they want to put towards that. So that's sort of kind of research and things like that. And again, having a network is super important now, and is going to be
Yes.
a powerful resource for everyone. So we have a couple questions that came in about a topic we covered last week. And I don't want to stray too far from travel trends, but I do want to give you sort of the chance to sort of talk about your experience with this. So Stacy McGee asks, how do you find the best way to make money from properties like VRBO or Airbnb? She said she's asked the owner to discount her, and I've stated that I need to charge a 10% or 10% service fee, I think she's talking about, to her clients, but they don't like that either. And we have another sort of question coming about service fees. If you're charging service fees or trip planning fees. And we had Jamie and Tiffany on last week, and they were super passionate about what they do with service fees. But I mean, do you have any opinions during to service fees and that you'd be able to share with everybody?
Absolutely. So our agency does not charge any service fees for what we do. And we don't, because there's just so many things that we can offer our clients that on the back end that, our agency is satisfied with the revenue. But with the question in reference to the Airbnb, a lot of those people, they are private owners and they just don't believe in the system that we have with our hotels. But that gives you an opportunity to offer other expenses. So if you're going to give them the Airbnb, but also set up a tour and maybe book that through Viator or another platform, you can always add a fee on that end as a whole for the package. So don't focus on saying, okay, I'm going to send them to this hotel and now I'm not going to make any money. If you send them there and you also add on additional items, then you can still add in a service fee based on the 10% that you would receive from your vendor in that case. Service fees it's interesting. It's an interesting topic in our industry. And of course, we are definitely valuable and we need to be paid for everything that we do. But my whole concept is if you have clients that you keep happy, they will return. 85% of our business is referrals. And by doing that, we're able to continue to keep that rhythm going and having clients. The worst thing you want to do is put together an awesome vacation and then, you add an additional, 200, 300, whatever your service fee is. And it leaves a bad taste in that client's, with that client so that they don't come back because they could have went somewhere else and got the same thing. It's a personal preference. And of course, we are definitely valuable, but I think there's a lot of opportunities out there for us to service our clients without adding the service fee.
Okay, well, it's great to hear. Yeah, I mean, it's great to hear both points of view. It's interesting. I mean, again, Tiffany and Jamie were super passionate about it, and they're actually returning to this series in September. So if anyone has questions for them, or if anyone has the same opinion as Sanya and wants to come on and sort of ask questions to Tiffany and Jamie, they will actually be back with us. And we're excited about that. Again, if anyone has questions for Sanya, for her experience about her agency or about her business and how she sort of stays current on travel trends, the chat is open. We're getting a ton of great comments about sort of alternatives to Airbnb in the chat, which is great to see. And again, it's advisors being a part of a community, helping each other sort of with their business. And I think that is great to see. So we have Sabrina. We have Sabrina ask. She says, please explain the entertainment side, your entertainment travel niche again. And she says, thank you.
Well, those are my Hollywood days, I like to say. So, that was actually about 20 years ago when I started that. And basically, I started because I had some clients that were Detroit Lion players. That's basically how I started it. And I used their wants. They wanted to attend a couple of the national shows that were award shows, and I just started to call. So once I started to call, it wasn't that difficult to get tickets to those events. And from there, there were some young guys out of North Carolina that started a company to get tickets to every sporting events, from golf to All-Star games, Super Bowl, and that relationship was gained there. So basically, all I did was I was inquisitive. I pushed, I pushed the envelope basically, and I just started making phone calls. So you can do those things, add those tickets along with a hotel or an airline flight package, and there you are. You're a part of the entertainment travel world. Yeah. Another thing is, of course, if you want to work with entertainment companies where they like to take over the cruise ships. I've done that before, where they have entertainers come on and they perform. Or one of my partners, he actually does a golf outing in Barbados every year, which is a jazz event. So there's a lot of avenues that you can tap in and be partners with, or you can work with people within your own city and maybe give them that idea that they can do that.
Okay. Yeah.
So hopefully that helps you. And feel free to, I'll give my email address if you would like to, kind of talk one-on-one. I would love to venture back in that. Those are my younger days. I don't have those energies.
Yeah, so she says thank you here in LA and someone in the industry, and she says, yeah, your email would be great, and I'll try to wrestle that, and we can drop that in the chat.
Okay.
Hopefully one of my colleagues can drop that in the chat, and everyone can sort of grab that. We have another question from Beth. She wants to know, how do you start up a group experience from scratch? I know that might be a big process, but if you had a few tips or a few words of wisdom, that would be great.
Yeah, the first thing I'm going to throw out at you is organization. And so you want to make sure that you organize this and have a group leader. And then the next thing is having supportive resources to support that. So you got to have your contracts. You have to be very clear when you communicate what's included and what the offerings are. And from there, I would say social media groups. If you have a person who want to, say, go to Jamaica, have them as the group leader set up a group within like Facebook where they can communicate to everyone, and then you can chime in and communicate as well. That communication is actually very easy than sending emails to everyone, but then also it allows you to motivate them and pop photos in and out when you want. The best thing to do is whoever the group leader is, if you're working with one, or even if the group leader is yourself, because it's okay for you to be a group leader. Decide what you're going to offer them, make sure that's clear, the payment plans and all those things. And it should be pretty easy. I just look as a group, as an individual. It takes one phone call to book a group. It takes one phone call to book an individual. So don't make it complicated.
Yeah. I mean, I have a question about that, about booking groups and being a group leader. Do you lead a lot of groups yourself? Do you lead a lot of the groups that you book?
Some of them I do. I'm very selective now.
Okay. And I mean,
so we have other agents that go.
Okay. And I mean, having an agent lead a group, especially now when maybe some people are gun shy about traveling, is that something that's powerful? I mean, if clients trust an advisor and an advisor's getting ready to travel and saying I'm going on these trips maybe next year, is that something you think is beneficial and maybe able to inspire confidence in your clients?
That's a good question. I think the state that we're in right now, no matter who travels, people are a little uneasy. Mm-hmm. I do believe that if you share your travels, even if it's not with this group, it just makes your clients comfortable. I went to Tampa 3 weeks ago and I basically did a video. I'm at the airport. This is what's happening. I landed. This is my experience. I think that will make them more comfortable than them saying that they need someone to go along with them. But it's always good to go, especially if you've never gone to that destination, or if you're offering something fabulous. That you want to make sure it goes well. We're currently doing something with one of our celebrity chefs. Of course, I want to go because I don't want any issues to happen, and issues can happen. So that's the reason why I would go on something like that. But, I have larger groups of, like 75 people that I totally send by themselves, and they do very well.
That's great. So Michelle Powell asks, is there an expectation if you are the group leader that you will also be the chaperone of the trip?
You have to set that yourself.
Okay.
You just have to, you can tell them you're there for a reason, or if you don't, they're going to look for you for everything, knock on your door, call you. So that has to be determined in the beginning. And then also, if you are just going along to participate maybe in a wedding or something, it's a friend of yours, you let your clients know, I booked you, but this is my vacation. It's all about, being transparent and making sure that everybody's on the same page.
So we're getting a bunch of questions about cruising, and I'm not sure, do you do a lot with cruises, Sanya?
Well, we do book cruises. I am a FIT cheerleader, but I mean, I may be able to answer. Let's see what we have.
It's basically just about what you're seeing in the cruise industry in the future. I know there's a lot of uncertainty, and I think there's a lot of sort of on the consumer side. There's some uncertainty, but I know on the advisor side, the industry is great for advisors. I know they were one of the ocean industry in particular was one of the only few that were sort of protecting commissions on cruises that were canceled, on trips that were canceled, which I think is super important to note. And I guess the question is, what are you seeing in the cruise industry now, and what are you hearing from clients?
My personal feeling as an advisor is it's uncertain. They need to figure it out. I know they're gone from let's book and give it away for $25 to, oh, we're not going to book anything else, and then they're coming back and say they are going to book. So I think it's an opportunity for you to see what's out there, but personally, I'm not sending any of my clients or recommending that they travel on a cruise between now and January. That's just my personal feeling. I see it as additional work. But if they're planning outside of January, we are receiving requests, and we're letting them know what's out there. So be honest with your customers, let them know your true feelings, but let them make the decision at the end of the day, and sell insurance. I mean, all advisors know if you want to do your due diligence as an excellent advisor, make sure they are covered in all forms and fashion.
Yeah, I will say that I've spoken to a lot of cruise executives over the last few weeks, and I mean, demand everywhere dropped over the past couple of months, but demand is pretty heavy for 2021, especially with all these FCCs coming back.
It is.
And there's a lot of great ships that are going to be debuting next year, and there's a lot of ships that are going to be returning to sea sort of brand new. So I mean, while there is definitely uncertainty, it's definitely going to be a great time if those health and safety measures are enforced to cruise. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that. Again.
Well, you know what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cruising started our business, so I have faith in it. It started, our agency, and I totally have faith in it. We just have to wait it out until they're ready.
Yeah. So I want to remind everyone, we have a few minutes left. If anyone has any outstanding questions for Sanya, please drop them in the chat, and I'll grab them. I'll grab maybe one or two more as we go along. I do just want to mention, so to prepare for this session, I sort of went through some of the stuff I've written in the past about sort of trends. And I just wanted to sort of throw stuff out there in case it catches anyone's interest. I attended sort of a consortia conference last year, and they spoke about tech trends, just so everyone has these on their mind. One interesting stat I saw that was by 2024, almost 40% of the general population is expected to be on the new 5G network, which I know sounds like a trivial thing, but if you sort of do some reading about it, it's going to really change not only the travel industry, but almost every single industry. There's also other stuff to consider, which seems like the future. It seems like sort of a futuristic movie, but I mean, we're going to have AI pretty quickly, augmented analytics. We're going to have an increasing need for cybersecurity, and I think everyone should just sort of be aware of that. And we also did a survey last year about destinations, and we did a polar travel one. And this was pre-COVID, but and I know clearly things have changed with COVID, but 61% of our advisors said they expect to have an increase in sales to polar destinations. So that is again something to consider. So I guess, Sanya, I mean, do you have anything else you want to add? Anything you think is important for advisors to know about now, about the next few months? Anything you want them to sort of take note of, or any lessons you found most important from your career?
Yes, I want to make sure that some of the trends that are happening and some of the social issues that are happening, that we look at that and see how it impacts our industry. Cultural immersion is one of the most trending, words that's out there right now. And so I took a deeper dive on, okay, let's talk about cultural immersion and how does that affect our industry. And I think they were right on point of making sure that we broaden our horizon and find out how our country and other countries kind of interlock, and the differences and the similarities, and how we can actually allow our clients to have those experiences. I think you and I spoke about the gentleman in Africa that actually made souvenirs out of bones, and what one of my clients was there, and she purchased one of those products, and she was just taken by the whole experience, and she assisted them in making it actually an experience. So when you go to Ghana, you can actually make souvenirs out of, repurposed bones. That's an example of our, cultural immersion. And, I do have a nonprofit which focus on, children traveling the world. And now we have added some cultural immersion experiences for them, because it is important. And obviously, because it's something that's trending, you want to be a part of that. Another thing is, as travel agents, first of all, I have to as travel advisors, I want to commend our push that we, made some noise in Washington, and we were able to, allow independent contractors to receive unemployment. That was huge. And the travel industry, if you don't know it, had a huge push in doing that with ASTA and a lot of other national organizations being the lead on that. So social responsibilities are very important, and we have a place, there's a place for us. Our industry is huge, and we impact pretty much every industry out there. So make sure that you're doing your due diligence to understand the social issues, and you are exposing your clients to destinations that they will love just because it's something different. And, clients, if you're not impacting African American clients in your office, that is a missed opportunity. I mean, from 2018, I mean, African Americans traveled and they impacted the industry. $63 billion they contribute. So that's an entire opportunity for you, not only for you to just have understanding in that area, but also for you to continue to offer your excellent service to another community. So I challenge all of you to stay on, on trend and stay up to date with how you can either make a difference in your industry, your office, or even in your community, because we as travel advisors are important people. We do hard work, and I know that we can make a difference.
Yeah, that is a great way to end the session. I want to say thank you so much for lending me your time this week. I know how busy everyone is, not you and everyone on this call. So thank you all so much for joining me. We're going to get this whole video up so you guys can rewatch it or send it to whoever you want later today. And we're going to have it in our newsletter tomorrow. I just want to remind everyone, once again, we're going to have that panel next week led by Jennifer Wilson Buttigieg and those 5 panelists from consortia and hosts. And we're super excited about that. And we hope you return to us next week. We're going to get that link out very shortly. Thank you all so much. And again, Sanya, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Hope to see you all next week.